On Sunday night at the All Out pay-per-view, AEW will host the next Casino ladder match for a shot at the undisputed AEW World Champion, with yet another Joker entrant to be included. Since the announcement earlier this week, speculation has grown as to who will fill the empty spot, with free agents, New Japan Pro wrestlers, and returning AEW stars all making up the names spinning in the rumor mill. In the past, both the Casino ladder and Battle Royal has seen a mix of Joker entrants, from the triumphant Hangman Page or the debuting Ruby Soho, with them often even going on to win the whole damn thing. So with that said, who are the most likely candidates this time around? Well, in this video, let's take a look at who the surprise could be at AEW All Out 2022. One half of Top Flight and the brother of Dante Martin, Darius Martin was one of AEW's youngest talents in the tag division. Unfortunately, unlike his brother, he couldn't get much TV time due to multiple injuries that have plagued his AEW career. After a return in the Casino Battle Royal in March 2022, it was then reported that he had been involved in a car accident in April. This meant that he was once again out of action due to problems with his neck, and although it's not officially known how long he will be out, Malachi Black recently stated in an interview that it could be 6 to 8 months before Darius returns. It's only been 3 months since the accident, so it might be far-fetched for Darius to make such a speedy recovery. However, if you look at the Casino ladder match, all the participants are in teams with each other, like Rush and Andrade El Idolo, Rey Fenix and Penta Oscuro, as well as Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. So it would make sense for Dante to also have his tag team partner on his side, but we'll put this one down as a huge long shot. Since debuting at All Out 2021, Adam Cole has made quite an impact in a short space of time. He has challenged for the IWGP and AEW World titles, even winning the first ever men's Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Recently, a feud kicked off between Cole's Undisputed Elite and the Elite after he betrayed the Young Bucks. Although with the contract of Bobby Fish coming to an end, as well as Kyle O'Reilly's injured neck, Adam now needs a new direction. Speaking of injuries, at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, Adam Cole would suffer from a concussion, which meant he missed a lot of TV time, with him also suffering from a torn labrum and has opted not to undergo surgery. Although it's not clear when he'll be making his return, his girlfriend Britt Baker have stated that Cole is recovering and he might be cleared for action soon. If Cole is currently cleared to compete, then he might make a surprise appearance as the Joker in the Casino ladder match 1 year on from the AEW All Out 2021 event, where he would make his debut. One of New Japan Pro Wrestling's hottest stars of the last decade, Kota Ibushi achieved several remarkable accomplishments in his home country. He was the inaugural IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, winner of the 2015 New Japan Cup, and winner of the G1 Climax on 2 occasions in both 2019 and 2020. Following an injury in last year's G1 Climax final that has kept him out of action since, Kota would shock the wrestling world by posting a tweet criticizing New Japan's upper management, accusing them of abuse. He went on to be fined, and with Kota seemingly still under contract despite once stating that he had been fired, his future in Japan is still very much up in the air. There is a possibility that he could show up at All Out via the Forbidden Door, or maybe even as a free agency pickup depending on his current contract status, which as I say is still unknown. Kota's former Golden Lover tag partner Kenny Omega is one of AEW's EVPs, meaning the door will likely always be open for him, with Ibushi recently stating his desire to become All Elite one day. Whether he can right now or not is anyone's guess. Another top star in New Japan, Will Ospreay, has become one of the most successful gaijins in New Japan since the top spot was left open by Kenny Omega. He has won the IWGP Heavyweight title and formed his own stable, the United Empire, even appearing on AEW television multiple times this year. He was most notably part of the AEW Trios Championship tournament, and this past Wednesday night, he and his faction fell short against the Elite Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Whilst Ospreay has publicly stated that he's done in AEW, at least for now, could he perhaps be swerving the fans as well as his fellow competitors ahead of the ladder match? I certainly wouldn't put it past him. Not only that, but a match between Will Ospreay and CM Punk has long been anticipated, and if Punk were to win in the All Out main event, it would set up many fans' dream scenario. With that said, the United Empire did beat down the Elite when the show went off the air this past Wednesday, so it's unlikely that he'd win the thing, although his appearance would set up a perfect chance for the Elite to get some revenge by costing him the win. Not only that, but who wouldn't want to see what the aerial assassin could do with a ladder? The Spanish God Sammy Guevara is one of AEW's 4 pillars and one of the most successful homegrown talents, having won the TNT title multiple times. Recently, Sammy has made headlines in the wrestling world for 2 separate reasons, the first being his marriage to fellow AEW wrestler Ty Mello, and the second being a backstage altercation with Eddie Kingston due to an unaired promo, with Kingston feeling Sammy went too far. That led to Kingston palming Guevara in the face, with Kingston being suspended with their planned match at All Out being cancelled. With Eddie now finding a spot on the pre-show in a match with Tomohiro Ishii, Sammy is still looking for a place on the card. Perhaps a impromptu segment or interference in Chris Jericho's match with Bryan Danielson could happen, but another likely scenario is that the Spanish God could be the Joker, allowing him to compete against his Jericho Appreciation Society rivals, the Blackpool Combat Club, for a shot at the gold. Dragon Lee has made a name for himself by fighting and winning titles in multiple promotions such as Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and CMLL. The luchador began his career in Mexico before making a name for himself across the world, and following the Tony Khan buyout of Ring of Honor, Lee has appeared in both AEW and ROH. Recently, Lee would make his AEW debut teaming with his fellow La Faction Ingobernable members Andrade El Idolo and his own brother Rush to participate in the Trios Elimination Tournament. The team would ultimately be eliminated by the Elite, and following the match, Rush and Andrade would turn on him, leaving his future up in the air. Their recent attack on Dragon Lee suggests that there could be a rivalry in the works, and with Andrade and Rush already part of the Casino ladder match, adding Lee to the mix would allow him to seek revenge by ultimately surpassing his former teammates by climbing to the top of the ladder. Daniel Garcia is regarded as one of AEW's best technical wrestlers, and known as Red Death. He's a submission specialist and has always impressed fans whenever he wrestles. In recent times, he's been a part of the Jericho Appreciation Society, billing himself as a sports entertainer, opposed to the much more fitting professional wrestler. Since joining the JAS, Daniel has been involved in Chris Jericho's feud with Eddie Kingston and the Blackpool Combat Club. Due to that, he's had several matches with Bryan Danielson and even defeated the American Dragon once in singles competition, and has since teased leaving the society, with things seemingly coming to a head this weekend when Jericho takes on Garcia's idol, Bryan Danielson. Although it's likely he will be involved in some way in the Jericho vs. Bryan match, Daniel has no other plans for All Out, and with Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta both part of the Casino ladder match, Daniel could continue his story by perhaps working with Blackpool Combat Club during the match, with him likely to become an official member when all is said and done. Formerly known as Big Cass in WWE, W. Morrissey has completely reinvented himself since leaving the company. He's had a dominant run in Impact Wrestling before leaving the company earlier this year, recently returning to AEW as an official roster member. Although he has already appeared in AEW having fought Wardlow in a losing effort, he was still signed to Impact back then, and he's now officially All Elite. Morrissey would take out all members of the Wingmen this past Wednesday on Dynamite before being approached by Stokely Hathaway, with the two now seemingly aligned. After such an impactful return, no pun intended, it's possible AEW want to continue to showcase their new big man, with there being no better way than to walk out of All Out as the #1 contender. Now under the wing of wise man Stokely Hathaway, perhaps his new representation can find him a spot in the Casino ladder match, with it possible that he could win the match without even using a ladder, well, because he's 7 feet tall, and you can't teach that. Nobody in the business has as much upside as MJF, with him being one of, if not the best heel in the business today. At the age of only 26 years old, he has taken AEW by storm, making himself into one of their most talked about stars in the process. A fan of old school wrestling, he's been applauded for his mic skills, his in-ring work, and his critically acclaimed feuds, particularly his rivalry with CM Punk, which featured many layers of storytelling. On the June 1st episode of Dynamite, however, Max would say that enough is enough, and if Tony Khan isn't going to give him what he wants, then he doesn't want to be here anymore. The promo followed reports of real-life tensions between MJF and his boss, with this spilling onto screens after a chaotic Double or Nothing weekend, with CM Punk's injury seemingly having delayed the continuation of the storyline, with it being Punk that ran MJF off during the commercial break after the pipe bomb. It seems that an appearance in his foe's hometown could be the perfect return. Why not have him win the Casino ladder match before challenging Punk to a match right there and then after the show's main event, or maybe even at AEW Dynamite Grand Slam in MJF's own home territory, Long Island, New York. Since debuting in AEW earlier this year, Samoa Joe has made it to the finals of the Owen Hart tournament, this after going on to win the ROH Television Championship on an episode of Dynamite, making an early mark in the promotion. With that said, Joe has been absent from AEW television as of late, taking time off to work on a television series called Twisted Metal, and with production now wrapped up, it's time for the Samoan submission machine to make a comeback. With old rival CM Punk potentially set to win the AEW World Championship once again, All Out, Joe could win the Casino ladder match, setting up a repeat of their epic rivalry from Ring of Honor in the mid-2000s, a rivalry that's still talked about to this day. Whilst many do predict a Joker appearance for MJF, as discussed in my predictions video, I feel like that should be saved for after the main event, so my pick is Samoa Joe. Not only is it the perfect way to bring the big man back, pitting him one-on-one with CM Punk, but it also immediately establishes him as a major threat to the main event scene. And before you go, make sure you check out my predictions for this weekend's AEW All Out 2022.